monitors. Budgeted $12,500 for the transfer to the CIP utility fund for water line plate replacement and also wastewater line replacement. And this is an annual amount that we're proposing to set aside for those replacements as they come about. We don't have any definite replacement projects, but we know that we've got an aging system that needs to be maintained. And so that cost is inevitable. We're also setting aside $50,000 to transfer to the CIP utility fund for the purchase of land easements. As those opportunities come up and we can purchase land easements for utility right-of-way, we want to be in a position where we can take advantage of that. We have $100,000 transfer to the utility CIP fund to pre-fund a possible wastewater treatment facility expansion. We're getting very close to the population point where we're required to start planning for that expansion. Once we reach that point, then we have to have a plan in place. And so this is proactive, preparing for that as our population continues to grow. We have $200,000 transfer to the utility fund, CIP fund, for the Myra Park Unit 2 water line oversizing project. Unit 1 is being built out now. Unit 2 will follow, so we'll need to be prepared to pay for our part of the oversizing. The developer pays for the main infrastructure, but we are paying for the oversizing to prepare for getting to what's Section 4 for our water transmission line. Again, that's another preparing for the future. $200,000 for general fund CIP as we prepare for the 15th Street Phase 1 NPO project with TxDOT. We need to have that cash available and ready when that project kicks off. And then we also have a built-in contingency of $214,000. This is honestly something we put in the budget every year, and it always gets cut just out of necessity. But we put a contingency in here for things that we don't know is going to happen, like hailstorms and tornadoes and windstorms and the things that we seem to encounter every year that cost us money that we didn't budget for, things we didn't plan for. So that's in here. And then we're also budgeting after the hailstorm of last June 25. We've built up the contingency for insurance of $50,000, and that is just to cover the cost of. We have a $1,000 deductible on every vehicle, and so if we fix even a majority of our vehicles, we'll reach that $50,000 pretty easily. So we're budgeting to set that aside as a contingency fund in order to accommodate those type of storms in the future. Those are the highlights. We do have some other things that went down. So if you add all those up, that's way more than our $325,000 proposed increase in tax revenue. But the net effect of all that, we're able to cover that with a $325,000 increase in property taxes because we have increases in other line items as well. Sales tax revenue, we have some increase there. Those two being the most significant changes probably on the revenue. Those are the highlights for sure. Again, none of that changed significantly from the last presentation that we brought to you. The numbers that did change were these three lines that we talked about here at the beginning, with the full-time firefighter and the deputy secretary. And again, that deputy secretary, that is to prepare for the retirement of Gretchen. It's to have someone in place, get them trained, have them prepared to take over when she departs.
Bill, do you have the line item? Do you have that in front of you by chance?
Yes.
I have a couple questions about on the line items.
Okay.
Chief Brush, you're asking for 10,000 more in overtime. Is that just equate to the kind of ratio out the increase in salaries to match the salary increase? Or are you lacking in overtime budget?
Both.
Oh, okay.
We've been lacking in overtime budget for a couple of years. Plus with the increase in salary, the amount of overtime hasn't really gone down. So
Gotcha.
we were behind.
So that 80,000 isn't last year, a full year. Okay. Y'all comp timing or just making people take off, or how y'all do it?
Officers, they don't, time and a half, and holiday pay, something like that.
Okay.
But they're paying for it.
Okay. All right.
They don't, mostly some of the school resource officers take comp time, but most everybody takes.
Okay. I don't have a problem with the increase. I figured that's what was working out. The drop in this report salary.
Yes. So there was last year, we had a part-time bailiff, if you recall. He was full-time, sorry. He left, and that position was not refilled. And we're proposing that position be eliminated.
So you're gonna lose an FTE.
Yes.
The city manager, or the city manager's line items, that drop in retirement. I don't know which, if you're, sorry, it's pretty far down.
So I've got him.
It just doesn't look.
Oh,
it doesn't-
that's a moving. So in the parent budget, I believe, we had budgeted for human resources, which is now a separate department. They used to be in 210. Now they're in their own department.
And then the increase in wastewater treatment, increase in the health insurance.
Can you give me an account number? If you're looking at the line items, you said wastewater.
Yes, wastewater treatment. Sorry.
That's all right. I'll get there. Yeah. Let's see. It's like a $9,400 decrease.
No, wastewater treatment is like a $13,000 increase, but it doesn't look a ratio to Social Security retirement.
Right.
Not to me.
So I think that is associated. So 511 and 512 are our one's wastewater collection, one's wastewater treatment. I think through the years we've had different employees that are maybe, in reality, they end up serving both those departments. We could probably merge those departments. But we do have a $9,400 decrease in 511 for health
Okay,
insurance.
so that's where that's.
And we have a 13,000 increase.
Okay.
And the net is probably the increase in our rates going up.
So go to the next account, 525, information technology. Look at the Social Security and retirement there compared to the salaries. Am I just looking at those incorrectly because I don't understand those numbers, or should those be pretty ratioed out? That's a large, I mean, that's like a double retirement.
Yeah.
Close to both, it's double in both of them, really, double in Social Security and retirement. But the salary increases by 1%.
So I'm just looking back over, we may have been behind on budgeting for that because we went through those changes. If you're looking at the same page I am, so you see the 22, 23, that used to be 84,000 for salary.
Right.
And then we added a full-time position, 23, 24.
Right.
We had some turnover in that position, so we added another. And 24, 25, we increased that some. So now we're up to the 189 is what we're at this year.
Yeah, but that's still
It's actually
just a 1%.
dropping some.
Still just a 1% increase.
Yeah,
So those Social Security retirement numbers,
yeah.
24, 25 to 25, 26 match.
I don't know, we need to check that.
I mean, those are big numbers. Just
Yeah. No, good eye.
they really should be similar, right? They should be
Right.
similar or lower,
They should be.
because there hasn't been any change in FTEs in that department. Right?
No.
That's what we're looking at.
We'll double check that.
Mayor, Pro Tem, would y'all like your municipal judge with regard to that budget item? She is here today.
Great, Chuck. Chuck had brought to me that there was an item that he thought that we ought to look at. It's a $3,000 item for a jury and some consultant. So,
For sure, and
Chuck, you can probably just address it.
I can, and there also there, I've been listening to some discussion about municipal court budget. There are certain state mandated funds that should be under the control of the municipal court judge. That should be under her control because, in fact, there is a memo that she wrote on that. That I'd like for the commission to look at because really what needs to happen is the judge needs to have the ability to move that money around within her budget because there are state regulations on how those funds are used. In fact, the judge and the city attorney and Decatur wrote a memo that was presented to TMCEC on that subject. So really, I think it probably would benefit the commission here directly on how those funds need to be used because there are some state laws that impact on that. So in any event, the $3,000 item for the jury notification software, I think is important because citizens of Kenyon are summoned to attend jury duty. Okay, the software that we're talking about, and that is referred to on the second page of that memo, gives them the ability to check in online, or it gives them online access to check in and follow the progress of what goes on in municipal court. In other words, whether or not they need to show up for jury duty. Occasionally, we have situations where trials are canceled, and we don't want jurors having to show up not knowing if trials are canceled or not. I think right now the practice is put it on Facebook and put a recording on the municipal court phone. But if this software were in place, jurors would not only have the ability to check in online, so you know who's coming for jury duty in advance, whether or not they're claiming exemption, whether or not they're claiming that they can't make it for some reason on that particular occasion. They can interact on that point. But also, if trial is canceled, then they can be advised online in advance. They don't show up. Last time we had a cancellation, so even despite the best efforts to notify everybody, 7 or 8 people still showed up. They walked up to the door, there's a note on the door, they turn around with it. So they've taken off work and come to jury duty, which is good on them. I mean, I appreciate the fact that they're honoring that summons for jury service, but we need a better way to notify them. So the software we're talking about is only $3,000, and I think it would be awesome to include that in the budget. So that's my contribution on that. With regard to staffing, I mean, that would have to be addressed.
a staffing change y'all wanted to make? Don't feel like you need a bailiff or?
Well, we would like a bailiff, of course. Our bailiff went to Kansas, and we're suffering the same things the police department had. He just got paid a lot better. You're looking at the security, a lot of times at municipal court. When we have to hire at court, we hire part-time people, contract employees. And that is getting hard to find too, because the people who were using are out at Apex. They don't. So we're having typical contract employees.
So would you need a part-time bailiff?
Yeah, I think we could do it with a part-time bailiff.
Have y'all posted that, trying to recruit somebody or?
No, it's been kind of so.
Instead of 1 in 6 months.
Just one comment on this. We have the court has 2 fees, they have 3 fees. There's 2 fees. There's a municipal court technology fund, and there's also a municipal court security fund. And through the years, for many years, those funds weren't really being used. But over the past, I don't know, 4 years, 3 to 5 years, those funds began to be used and were spent down, especially when the bailiff position was added a couple of years ago. We actually spent that municipal court security fund down. In the last legislature, the legislature combined those 2 fees. So now the fee amount didn't change, but that fee is now collected for municipal court technology and court security. You don't have to have one fee doing one thing and one fee doing another. That one fee can do either at the court's discretion, the city's discretion. So what we're proposing is to build that fund balance back up. Right now, we've over this past year, the combined fee has built back up to about $12,000. Is where we're at right now. We've created a new fund now to account for that with the combined fee. So those funds, we haven't really budgeted specifically for those. We're allowing for those funds to get replenished a little bit, but that is there. It's available for the software
Use that
potentially.
$3,000.
Yes. It wouldn't, that amount, and depending on what collections were next year, that wouldn't cover the cost of both the software and the bailiff. We would still need to find some more somewhere else.
To
We
me,
also-
for $3,000, it seems like that's a pretty good convenience for our citizens. So, you know, the jury should be working on it.
And if I might, that jury software is the same software that Randall County is using. So our jurors are already very familiar with that software. So that's good.
So I have to use the Randall County software.
Right.
Thoughts on the security piece and part-time labor?
When did you lose it?
July. And the only way,
This year?
no, last year, so, what am I saying? So, the position for the court, we did put that out. We've asked every person that we know that's retired or whatever, part-time position, I agree with the judge, that is something we need. I think that we need to, instead of taking away those funds, allow us to use what we already had before this cut. That'll allow us to get somebody in. The bailiff, which you're right, we take on, but I've taken on the collection aspect of all of that and the security. Brooklyn and I, if I can't get an off-duty officer, we are sitting, during the community center with anybody that's going, the same thing with the judge. So we have a list of some people that will help us out. Chief Bott from Timber Creek, he's where I get my off-duty people, from a CPD. So they already know, they already have the court security training. To take that piece away, you're in law enforcement, we know what people are like when they can instantly have contact with you when they're upset about something. Brooklyn's new to this, she hasn't faced some of the backlash from having to deal with some complaints, family violence and stuff. To take away our court security, you're leaving us to defend ourselves when we have in court. We are great. We were allowed to use those funds when we built the office in 2022 when we went over there. We are inofficial, as I like to say. We are very well protected as long as we stay within that area. If you put us out, that is a different piece, that's a different aspect in which we're having to face and make determinations. I mean, I've been doing this for 16 years. I think a lot of people are afraid of me, vice versa. But it really is a concern that we're going to take that all away without a discussion as far as what it means to us and our security sitting there, having somebody that's come in on a family violence charge, and they're already upset that complaint was accepted. The jury software, that's great. I don't know if nobody has had to stand and have somebody yell at them because they didn't get the notice because they don't get on Facebook. We don't do that. Those are direct complaints that I take, but my hands are tied, we don't have that software. So that would be an asset if we could have that. There's another piece we're missing out, and that is our recording software. We're a court of record now. We have to maintain that recording element that we have for our trials and everything. So I just feel like I would ask that you please consider just leaving us with what we have to work with to try and find somebody that we can get. We have 3 or 4 people that we've been talking to see if they will come back and work part-time with us. But we don't pay like Amarillo or Pantex to allow them to have those $100 an hour, or I don't even know what off-duty officers are getting anymore.
So you're right, not even off-duty officer per hour.
Exactly. That's right.
They're actually required to do.
Yeah, so like I said, that's a hard ask. I'm relying on, right now, to be honest, our court security, I'm relying on the goodness of ex-CPD officers to come in and assist me. Chief Bott, like I said, with Timber Creek, he throws out all my court dates and asks who can come in. The one officer that we do have on a regular time, he's picking up a full-time job. The other officer we had, he's a full-time job. So we're losing that, and I don't want to say take that away because we can't find somebody, because then it comes back, what if we find somebody, then are you going to reapprove that position again?
But that being said, we do understand that maybe it should be a full-time position for a it needs to be posted.
It's also something where it's like Sheila tries to move dockets around, like defendants, if we know that we can't get a court security officer for a certain day, we'll move defendants. But it's also been something where we have a full docket of defendants lined up, and then we were just relying on someone, and the goodness of their heart to show up and be there, and then they canceled, their kid got sick, they had to read from school, all the above, and then we've got 15 defendants sitting there, and me and a folding table and Sheila, and like like a room full of defendants. So it's just one of those where if we had something where we could make somebody have a little bit more of a reliable commitment to us, that would also work.
That position could also be trained as a clerk. So in other words, when Sheila's out on vacation or unavailable for some reason, that person could book in citations at the window.
That's also something we've experienced. So Miss Sheila's out. We have like standing understandings where if you got a ticket for your registration being out, but it was within 30 days of it being out, and you bring me proof that you got your registration renewed within 30 days, I'll drop your ticket. You don't have to deal with it. Well, Miss Sheila informs a citizen or something like that, and then the next time the citizen comes in, they are not met with Miss Sheila, they're met with the judge. Well, the judge cannot hear any evidence with the matter or accept any proof like that, so they come then frustrated that they got stonewalled. It's just the fact that our only backup individual to mark a window and interact with citizens is our judge, who has to remain completely neutral. That's hard.
I think we've got a great need here. I think we need to figure out a way to cover it.
We have security and we don't have it in our.
There
Well, I'd say that would
there
never
are
be.
previous.
Yeah, but I'm not just from my experience, at 35 an hour. I mean, I just.
I'd be supportive of part-time, but not be supportive of full-time position.
You know, and this is, and you all can go out and say, we really need, but the 6 months on city secretary, to me, that's kind of a luxury. I think it's nice to have a training period, but that's a place that I think you still can perhaps provide some. So what would that look like as far as what dollar number does that take to plug in there for part-time? What
I don't know, Secretary here. Do we have any idea?
I have to figure out 20 hours a week and what the hourly salaries would be, something similar to what we're paying for. The easy way to do that is just to half. If they are gonna be a true part-time, they have to be limited to less than 29 hours a week and all that, which would then keep them from being eligible for benefits and retirement. So we would have to make those, but it all depends on what the hourly salaries.
Robin, and your thoughts as far as kind of what we're plugging in?
Well, I don't know about salary wise how that works. I was just looking at the hourly rate
Right,
from
and
my own
hourly
experience of what we hire for, and that's significantly lower than what we pay security in the school district. So
rate. What
per hour.
level would you say that?
So we get 55 an hour.
What about Burnham County, 65 an hour for
So if you figure 55 times 20 times a week, what?
it was a weekend on the television, right? I could have that came up with part-time subject.
Well, I think even if you couldn't find a part-time sailor, if the rate was the amount it needed based on what they're gonna ask for, you might be able to find somebody to fill it into, find someone. I could see them not, just from my experience, that amount per hour is hard to find someone. And we experienced that until everything was raised, and then it got a little easier, but it just makes school, they can find extra work other places, making more money, so why would they get some $35 an hour? Just makes sense. I don't know what regular salary fees would be. I'm just saying extra duty hours.
That's the other.
55 an hour for 30 hours a week, for 52 weeks is 86,000 almost, 85,800.
It's 57, it's a lot of money.
That's at 30.
That's just salary.
What at 20?
So it's all application.
What was?
Can't calculate off
57,200.
But $5 an hour on the rate's about the same, alright, but not.
I don't know, I mean, that 50,000 off the increase, but it could be a different piece. Based on salary schedule.
So, what, address it, what do we need to do to come up with it?
We look our pay scale and all that, make sure she's right. On the spot.
We can come back with it.
I know we can, we can adjust.
We can work these changes in and try to keep it within what we've got in total right now. And work it with those choices in place and have that ready for the meeting. Either August 10th for the public hearing and budget adoption.
I do have one other substantial request, and I just went to Joe about it a little bit, but, a couple things got my attention, in a meeting with, Chris, here a week and a half ago, and, the thing, that really, and two things, I think we need to bring water back pretty quick on my agenda. I think just where we're at right now, record pumping, we haven't drilled any wells in 10 years, around roads on decline. I think we need to figure out how to get those, wells online over here, on the other side of Kimberly, Nicholas wells. I know we've got that in the grant. I think we can go ahead and move forward and figure out how we're gonna pay for that one way or another. And we've got them engineered now, so I think we can move forward with that. So that's one piece, but really the concern I have that I think really it's a fit in the budget. Just a comment that Chris made that really hadn't hit me. And we've got the well we drilled there at Spring Canyon, and that's in half-acre lots. So, yeah, it would have been a lot better if we would have put a line out where we wouldn't have to dig through, you know, those part hitches and all too, and tunnel underneath. If we'd done that to start with. But now, it hadn't hit me. We're now going to urban lots. And Chris made the comment, really concerned that we really even have the ability, can we drill a well in those urban lots? And then how do you get a pipeline? I mean, then you're going under roads and all too. So the one I have for the budget today is Spring Canyon, unit number 4, where we're doing all the work right now on all the septic system up there. I think it makes sense to do a change order and put in that pipeline. And talking to Joe, maybe that's 50,000 or so, something like that, to get that line out to the VFW or where that needs to go. I think that's something. This whole deal on water, I think we need to bring back. It's a bigger deal. It's not really a budget item. How do we pay for it? I think is a question. But then we've got all the Phantom Creek wells and all too. That if all that takes off, we've got the same issue there. So we've got to. This is a piece that probably more difficult to get out of that. You know,
The density on that lot. We at least have a little room to do well for trying commercial. You still have a little bit, obviously, what Spring Canyon has been done. We'll have to go to the ditches to do some of that line work.
if we could do the line work now while they're building all that out, if we can do that, if there's a change order, that's gonna save a lot of money versus the so, and they're already putting in pipeline. So,
Financial piece is the biggest challenge.
so I think that's where I would take that out as a contingent piece or whatever, that's 50,000. We're gonna double our expense here in a year, if we don't figure out how to do that. Chris, your thoughts? did I misread what you're saying as far as those?
I think one of the bigger challenge might actually be trying to drill a well at right. Large market space, which I want to. Yeah, it's not ideal to have to go back to the transmission line program, which large market in an area that's already built. It can be done, you wind up in a situation similar to what we've got right now. It's a disruption. Yes, that is a piece of it. My concerns because the commercial program gets us a little bit more space.
We've had quite a bit of discussions on that.
Process. Those are also having lots of two sections of what we're having contracts. So, have more space than we get to. We're meant to be built.
So I think it's something we need to talk about on the agenda here. But I guess my question is, does it make sense to, if we take, while we've got Wampler up there, but in mind, does it make sense to spend 50,000 out of this?
I haven't looked at it lately with Mr. Wright, but last time we looked at the COs, we were minus 178. On the COs.
You are right, we do have the contingency in this budget that we could reallocate.
I just think, it probably is, I would guess to go in and for it versus we could ditch it right now. But I really think that could cost twice as much for they're doing it, and it's not like we're talking about 200,000. I think it's worth doing that piece, and then I think we need to come back in and we need to talk about, before they start really developing Fannin Creek and its piece. How would we pay for wells, plus transmission lines? So, it would be forward to go ahead and drill. Anyway, I think that's a discussion for another day, but for the budget piece, I think it makes sense to look at doing a change order and get that done while we're out there putting pipe.
Makes sense to, if you're able to do it while they're already there, so we just start just extra cost. If we're able to.
Everybody's supportive of that change. Might even be able to do some of the piping, but it doesn't look to might make it Chris. Looking there, yes, we might get both. Or just piping.
Well, I appreciate it. I think that's something just.
Would you rather have some pipe? You're getting close to having this down.
I think I would probably like to do the pipe one, we can just do it in a ditch and then come back around and, within the next 6 months, see what we can do, figure out some wells.
Still, our party is where we're at on those wells and other patients, we know where to take it. So we're still trying to figure that out.
I know, that's another company.
Yeah. We're having mass conversations on
My concern after that conversation with the guy in Nightmare, we paid $1,750 an acre for those water rights, I think on both, about that. And if we felt like we were boxed in with different wells, we just can't do it. think it's something we gotta look at. That's not something we gotta figure out.
City staff does have that same neighborhood concern here. We've worked with, Hamilton's and their engineer about some of the transmission lines into this on this very southern edge of their Mammoth Creek Road, so there has been good joint conversation. Just coming up with several billions of work to do that. But we still believe the current cost effective is to build another pump station on the west side of town. Chris and Eric have had a lot of discussion with that as well, probably $5 million. They're just guessing at that. And the pipeline that we're putting in Myra Park, that eventually gets out there for the service, the catalyst, to get back into the system. I'm just thinking it's very good.
You know, the tough part to me, I think it could mean, and I've thrown this out to Joe, it could mean an increase in requirements, you know, 5 to 10% increase to take good debt service and some of this stuff. I think it's something we've got to take a look at.
Moving to August 10th, we will take that to the 14th, look at a cost estimate, see if we can at least do unit 4, if not, 38, well, it's 38, 5 to 20.
So can I recap real quick?
Yes, that's
Changes. What's the decision on the fire? To go with the control program, or do you want to keep it full-time?
I know their recommendation, they know they need better than I do, so that's what I would do.
So we'll work that in. We'll leave the deputy secretary at 3 months and use that 3-month portion to work toward a part-time bailiff. We'll work in the 3,000 for the voter software for municipal court, and we'll work in 50,000 to 214,000 for pipeline.
The 6-month change for the city secretary is not training.
No, there'll be some,
Well,
there may be some savings here in this 525 area.
25 times.
So
It's not a temporary, like 3 months is, or it's gonna be temporary. It's temporary this year, but next year on.
and it'll change our future plans from that. Anything else that I've missed? I think those are the things I got down.
Not a budget item, but I'd like for this to be discussed as an agenda item, so we can really understand what they're actually asking us. Because it sounds like they're wanting to change funding sources and things like that. Doesn't need to be left off the table. If this is something we need to discuss, it needs to be left off. I mean, I don't want it to be left off. It should really be left off from this budget.
All right, well, I think that as is for today, but I think that's a good discussion. We'll head, unless anybody just needs a break, we'll just go ahead and move on into regular session.
Can we get off the front row real quick?
Thank you all. All right, that takes us to item number 5, approval of the minutes of the meeting of July 7th, 2026. Motion second to approve the minutes as written. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Okay, Item number 6, public comments from interested citizens. Gretchen, looks like we've got some sign in about 4 particular items.
That's,
So when we get to item number 8, we will address that. So it's item 7 and 8. I'll do that again.
Camera's on the way.
We'll address item 7. With that takes us to item number 7. Consider and take appropriate action on ordinance number 1255, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Canyon, Texas, amending section 98.15 relating to conditions of permits, providing for severability and providing for effective date. Gretchen, running with us?
I'll run this here. We had some information brought to our attention. Previously, we weren't aware that alcohol was being served at Fairham Square and Farmers Market. And when it was brought to our attention, it kind of triggered some things that we should have been dealing with on the city side. One of those things that started the conversation is the TABC requires a letter from the property owner to give permission for alcohol to be sold on their property. So apparently other entities were signing off on those letters, and if we had been getting those, we would have known then what was going on. It kind of helped alleviate or make it look this way, we've gone this way. On searching through what our rules were for alcohol sales on the square, I did find that our event permit ordinance prohibited any consumption of alcohol on the square before noon. So in talking, we've got vehicles and the pack truck, the owner of Belgrade. These are the main people. Poncasetta is also serving some beer at these events. We felt it'd be prudent to go ahead and change that ordinance. The only thing we would change is the service of or consumption of alcohol would start at 8 a.m. This is going to be like your mimosas, Bloody Marys, things like that people like to have. So I think staff is pretty much in support of that. One thing about the event permit that I'll be updating upon approval from you all of this tonight, disperse the letters. The event sponsors, it's their responsibility to make sure that anybody serving alcohol knows that they have to submit the letter. I did include in the packet a form letter that we'll send to each of them, and they can fill that out. It meets all the criteria for the city and for TABC and brings us into compliance on that point. It does state in the ordinance that, and in the permit, that we can require a MC for an event with alcohol or liquor or whatever. Chief Rush has expressed that he would like to see that happen. So Mark would tap a truck and I guess all of y'all together. They have some posts that they sent, and they would put them at each of the corners, and it would simply have signs that on both sides that said no alcohol past this point. TABC allows us to make the decision on if that's appropriate, which Joe and I looked at it and we think it meets the criteria, so we would be fine with that. The other thing Chief Brush has expressed concern about is the need for police presence. Our ordinance currently states that if there's people, 100 more people, that one officer is required to be on the property. If there's over 100, 2 officers, and these would be off-duty officers, that would be paid by the event sponsor. So, however, Farmers Market or Fairham Square wanted to handle that, that would be up to them how to pay that. But the chief is wanting to make sure that we're abiding by that caveat. We also discussed that as big as Farmers Market is getting, not this year, but next year, we would like to have this presence there anyway, regardless, just because there's thousands of people there, which is great. Farmers Market is successful, and we're happy to see that, but we have to keep our community safe at the same time. So that's more discussion right now on this ordinance, 1255. We're just proposing to just change that time from noon to 11 to make it from 8 a.m. to 11 where consumption can be done with an event permit on the square. And then, of course, everything else.
Okay, thank you, Gretchen. Let's go ahead and hear from, let's see, this is who signed in, or I guess, actually, I guess, it's like you live in Midland, Nicole, but, go, is it Procure?
Yes.
Would you like to come?
Yeah, she's, Sips and Giggles is one of the they serve. They actually basically lease the food truck and then the bartenders, but it's under El Rey, which is their company out of Midland. So that's allowable by TABC, as long as they have a brick and mortar TABC permitted property. So this is allowable, that's why she's coming.
Yes, if you would come, state your name and address.
Okay, my name is Nicole Markier, and I own 2 TABC licenses, one for a restaurant and one for a historical venue here in Texas. And today I'm speaking on behalf of myself, Brittany, owner of Sips and Giggles Mobile Bartending, and Mark McMurrow, owner of the Amarillo Tap Truck. And we are here just under the consideration of an amendment to the ordinance numbers 1021 and 1088. And we are encouraged by the discussion surrounding alcohol allowing sales beginning at 8 a.m. like Gretchen mentioned. But at this point, our primary concern is no longer the time restriction. As we discussed, as we are aware, after our meeting with city officials, the city very much would like to change the time constraints, which is our impression of that. And our focus has shifted to the cost and responsibility for security. If this amendment is adopted, the police presence requirement would take effect immediately with an estimated cost of approximately $500 to $600 per event. And while we fully support maintaining a safe environment for the community, we do agree public safety should always be a priority. But we respectfully believe that the responsibility for event security should rest between the event organizer and the property owner, not with a third-party vendor who is simply participating in the event. And under the current ordinance 1088 section 3, it states, quote, events having an attendance of 100 persons or less shall require one off-duty officer to work security. In events of more than 100 persons, as Gretchen mentioned, an attendance shall require 2 off-duty officers. The event shall pay the cost of these security officers or officers assigned at an hourly rate per officer that is set by the chief of police. The chief of police also has the discretion to waive a security fee, end quote. So that requirement exists because of the size of the event itself. It doesn't exist because alcohol is present. And the city's own discussions have acknowledged that the farmers market has grown significantly over the years, and this growth has created the need for more police presence. So additionally, ordinance number 1021 section 98.11, additional city services part A on page 5, says the chief of police will determine what extent additional police services are needed based on size, location, duration, time, and date of the event. Number 2, history of the event. Number 3, need to detour citizen travel. And last but not least, number 4, presence of alcohol. So it goes on further to say in part B, and this is I think the main point that we really want to discuss, Brittany, Mark, and I. Part B states, quote, if possible without disruption of ordinary police services or compromised public safety, regularly scheduled on-duty personnel will police the event, which to my understanding has been the case thus far for roughly the last 2 decades, I think, since this ordinance was put in place back in, is it 2005? I think is when that began. So the city has been waiving the security fee required by the event ordinance because it would pose a burden on the farmers market. And the most notable part should be section C on page 6, which states the responsibility for event fees lies with the applicant. and that they shall pay the estimated charges associated with the additional city expenses to the city. So therein lies the responsibility of the event host to the property owner. And to wrap that up, we recognize that the chief of police has discretion to require additional police services when circumstances warrant. We fully respect that authority. Our request is simply that the cost of those additional requirements remain the responsibility of the event itself, not third parties. And we strongly believe the security benefits the entire event with or without the presence of alcohol. And due to those benefits, the event fees should be spread across all vendors in the least. So, I mean, we pray that the city consider providing flexibility for nonprofit community events such as the farmers market, whether through reduced officer rates, a cost sharing arrangement, or allowing one officer to work alongside a licensed private security guard, just as an effort to reduce those costs. And we hope that there's an opportunity to balance public safety with financial realities faced by small businesses and nonprofit organizations.
Thank you.
Gary, the permit, for the event, special event permit, puts, as she decided, the event sponsor is one responsible to pay for any security or anything that's needed, so that would really be up to the event sponsor.
God, they're gonna raise that, right?
Correct. We can't make that decision for the event sponsor. As far as, alcohol, creating the need for that, that's with any of the permit application. We don't have that, but if there's alcohol, it requires, so if any of the church, school events, anything that has alcohol, it requires the presence. The chief can waive that. I think that would be a discussion, so I can speak on this behalf, Matt, I'm going ahead of that, or
Sure,
Matt,
on
Matt's
the
our
waiver
captain.
piece. On the waiver piece. Okay, I think that kind of ties in, that's right, with what Mr. Jones kind of pointing out, that would cause quite an impact on our overtime budget. Ultimately, that's what we need to have officers come out there. If it helps at all, I mean, one of the things that the police department will try to identify is not just critical infrastructure, but also soft markets. And this event, I mean, it's been very successful, it's great. I've been out there several times with my family, and there's easily several hundred people out there. Much like the reason why we supply security services to the school, it's not in the event something, it's not reactive, it's more of a proactive stance where something does happen. We have officers immediately on scene. The reason we ask you to especially large orders, is another officer's going to end up getting dispatched as well. You know, we do provide this service occasionally for different events that kind of come up. This is a regularly scheduled event that comes up pretty much every weekend, which is a pretty tight commitment on our part. The officers usually come by because they like to do something, like just kind of see what's going on. The problem we always run into is those officers around on any kind of major crime scene or a major crash. We're always going to be shifting our priorities on what's going on. So something where there might be a flag or a death or something like that that might be on a low rate of scale on priorities, it's going to cause a delay depending on what we've got going on. But we have officers dedicated to getting that, that's when we don't make it run. So hopefully that kind of explains a little bit on why the number of officers.
I think so, on the waiver of that, you see, it's part of the
I hate to make that decision, but that is a serious commitment on the city's part.
No, I'm talking about waiver of requirement.
I would say it's the police department's position that because of the size and the growth of the event itself, it's probably passing that itself.
So, it was just, that is something that has to be addressed through the permit by the sponsor.
So just realistically, so if you guys had just talked about waiving that for the farmer's market for the rest of the year and beginning that in 2027 for farmer's market, I think we're asking for the same thing. If you're gonna waive it with it being hundreds of people already. Because realistically, if this passes, right, I get a permit and I'm to serve this Saturday. Do I get off duty police officers? How do I get, that's 3 days, so it's a pretty, it seems bigger than just.
And I was pushing this through to the commission so that maybe we could accommodate you all more, making the time change because at that time, it was all paper, right, when there was no consumption. That is just gonna be a leadership decision.
So really, the permit is actually, so it will be taken out by farmers market or chamber. Correct. It's not act by individual vendors, it's their responsibility to provide the permit. Correct. So it really wouldn't go to the vendors unless they choose. So that's their choice, how they handle that situation. So we're really just looking at what should the permit requirements state. And then I wasn't mad at it, I'm just sitting there thinking, how many total officers on a given day on a Saturday do we even have? On staff 4, 5? Here today?
2 to 3 patrols.
2 to 3 patrols. So, I mean, to designate 2 just to that event, that leaves our city. That wouldn't be smart in my book. That's just not smart when you only have a couple out on a given shift as it is. And from being a person that attends a whole lot of events, there's always 2 officers at every event. Because typically there's alcohol served. So.
I ask one question.
Okay.
So if we don't do alcohol, so we say we pull out because we're not gonna pay the $600 for the weekend. To do it, is the city still gonna require 2 officers to be there for the farmer's market?
According to the chief, we will definitely do that
For next year, but for the rest of this year?
The chief has always made me sure to do it. Yeah, thanks for always. We've always had to have that. We don't serve alcohol. Never had to. But we've always had to do that. Which I think is also why we mentioned maybe because we know the constraints on the number of police officers, maybe allowing the security guards, one officer, maybe on duty and security guards. That does help break down the cost of living. We were just kind of just their variance option. The variance is in there, but that's up to the chief of police. So really what we're addressing right now is the time on this ordinance. What does it say? It has to be
Says off-duty police department.
You're putting that in the regular
Are you
operating.
putting that on call?
So anybody's, it could be.
Just whoever makes it up.
Any police officer.
Or Randall County. Did they put it
So what we would do, I think just use the lumberyard as a good example. That's a lot of Randall counties. Because having 6 plus people in one event is pretty tough. Which is also dependent on what the time is. Probably sometimes we could do that. But in that case, just logistically and make it easier, we just have 3 Randall County, 2 Randall County applicants here, like 3 and 3. Same thing with football games. We have some that one now as well. I can tell you my personal opinion on having 1 San Diego police department and 1 security is just fine. It's actually that, especially with the security may not have to know. And we've got, we're going to want to rely on our own people. It's kind of that's kind of a risk.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Are we confused about who is responsible for paying for the police officers?
No, the permit clearly states it's up to the event sponsors. That would be the chamber, the farmers market. So that
So
was.
if they feel like that they have to pay it, they're not understanding what it's saying.
Well, I think where that's coming from is it was discussed that they can divide that cost between the vendors. But that's what that would be.
I guess the point I was trying to make is that it hasn't been charged up to this point. The police chief wants it charged if alcohol's there. But my question is, if alcohol's not there, the rest of the year, will it be charged?
It wants them being a nonprofit. I don't know. He wants to give them time to prepare for that.
And
the
that's what we're
alcohol-
asking for, is
yeah,
the same.
The alcohol triggered this whole conversation.
And I get that, we're in the same situation, we made our plans accordingly. And we're one entity versus 100 vendors.
And all of that is
So-
up to the vendor sponsor. That's the
And
bottom
I
line.
get that, we can talk to the board,
Yes.
but the question is, if we don't bring alcohol to the rest of them, will the city charge for security?
Not at this point,
I think
because
we're looking at just changing what the regular permit requirements are, beginning on this date moving forward.
Well, there's two separate things, there's a special event, and then there's alcohol fees.
Right. Which is the time.
Right, the special event, there are some that we, chief can require, alcohol or not, for license. We're leaning more on that special event, volume of people that should be under there.
Which in our meeting with y'all, he said, I've been looking at requiring this because it's gotten so big. So it's just the alcohol triggered the conversation, that with that being added in, it's created a higher concern.
Gretchen, when did the city first learn that alcohol was being served on the square?
We received a complaint, it was just a month or two ago.
Okay, so this is a reaction to us finding out that our special use permit, which requires a police officer to be present when alcohol served, this is a response to that.
And
So
on our,
had we known at the beginning of the farmer's market that alcohol was being served, we would require to have a police officer present. Okay.
and the permit, the special event permit asked if alcohol will or will not be served. I went back 2 years, last year was the first time that box was checked. And as I explained to them with the letter required to the property owner, that triggers us knowing what's going on and we weren't given one.
That makes sense.
Can I ask who signs off on event permits?
TAB's, oh, but
On the city's event permits? What all
it's
departments?
a bunch of departments. It's police, planning and development, parks, public works.
Chief is the official signer.
And he noted on several that TABC would have to be contacted. And the permit on TABC for the special event permit, temporary permit that the vendor has to get, one of the first boxes on there is property owner letter required to be submitted with that, but the wrong people were signing it, so we weren't getting that. That's,
What's that? Did you have other public comment?
No, that's all.
Well, as it relates to changing the ordinance to 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm all in favor of it.
Have a motion second to approve ordinance number 1255. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. All right, with that, we will go to item number 8, discussion regarding proposed amendments to ordinance number 515, an ordinance prohibiting possession or the drinking of any alcoholic beverage in any city park or city-owned building within the city of Canton.
this brought up another conversation that has been tumbling around for years with the city allowing alcohol, community center and any other city-owned property, parks or gates. My ask for all of you is consideration of time. There's a lot of good information here. I found the information of how the city of Amarillo handles all of their permits. It would require a TABC certified bartender over the community center if we allowed alcohol. But basically what we're asking here on all of this information in the memo is if you're interested in changing it, right now it's prohibited. It's just simply prohibited. Sidewalk cafes are addressed in 1031, which again has to be blocked off and everything to serve alcohol. So if you are interested in this, taking some of this information from like the city of Amarillo and putting together an ordinance to be considered to loosen that up a little bit, we'd be happy to do that at your direction.
Just right out of basic here, there's nothing in city facilities Potter wanted to open here and one got the sidewalk here, come up.
Square.
Just, you can do it on square, special event, Trump.
Right, if we changed it.
Yeah, if it was, if there was nothing happening, right, there's generally laws.
It does prohibit still parks, like games and things, city and rules or
My preference would be, that we would allow it on city property with the permit and with security, and I think you can send something out to that extent. I'm not in favor of just having an open container in the parks, in our community center without a permit. I think Canyon is a family-friendly place. We pride ourselves in that. I get comments in that from the CAP. I get all kinds of comments, in that direction. And I think this takes us down, that would take us down a different road. I don't disagree. You know, Alcohol Farmer Society, the permits, the security, I'm good with that. But the other level, I don't think that's a place that we want to go.
Matt, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Have you read this ordinance we sent you? Look at section 1 and tell me if, like, is that even enforceable by you guys? 'Cause it's not an open container violation.
Section 1, section 1.
Section 1 of the ordinance 515.
and it's an open.
1982.
Would you charge somebody with a violation of VCO on an open container with that? They just have an open container? Or is it gonna be like an MIC where you have to catch them in the commission crowd of drinking?
Keep going down. It's on typewriter, Matt, the ordinance on typewriter.
Yeah.
It's 111.
Yeah, there it is, yeah, it's on screen. That would just be an ordinance violation.
Would we enforce that?
Yeah. I don't know if that answers that question.
People drinking in the park.
I personally would enforce that.
But it's not really an open container.
Well, we have drinking.
It's a lot more like what powder cocaine has, where you just can't. That's
Yeah,
That's what it looks, to me, it looks like, to me, I can't think that. Possession, I mean.
okay.
Yeah, I personally would.
So Commissioner, you also, don't outline, but,
I think people are violating that quite often. I don't have a problem with it, but I like the city of Emerald, I'm glad you researched it, I like the one that's laid out. I do think we restrict people using our, some of our city property, especially, communities that are not allowed. I personally don't.
you know, I've personally seen issues with alcohol at pretty much every level, at social level, at a family level, and you know, I think we can take care of things at a specific event and with security. I think we should go down that road. You're just asking for problems in the park if you allow it. I really believe it's less family friendly. And I have had the chance to visit with a couple of folks about that all too. You know, the atmosphere we have.
So right now with the special use permit, can you drink in the park?
With a special use permit.
Oh,
The proper caveats.
With the special use permit, can you drink in the community center?
Yes.
Why is it?
It's a facility versus.
change it with that, especially to permit it to be delivered.
What about Ella Park? Since they're not, are they selling it there?
No, they're bringing it themselves because, so, okay, that's why it's BYOB
So where?
to the Network Park. You have police presence there.
Yes.
It's all awful. Except one area.
Yeah, that's how Neil Swans and give you the south sound. Okay, that's the difference.
So if you want, we can bring it, you can recommend changes if you want, or we can just leave it alone.
I would like a lot of the changes.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think we need to look at what's currently being done and align our practices to kind of what's already happening. And we talked about this a little bit, just, we don't want our police officers to start thinking they have to try to enforce things that's kind of been an allowable thing, but what is that? So I think that's what we need to determine is, where is that line? What is appropriate based on what current practices have been? So that it aligns to that, and what are we okay with? Is that having a permit, or is it certain areas that we're going to allow that at a certain point? I just don't think what our current ordinances are saying aligns with what the practice is currently in the town, and that's what we need to figure out how to align.
Matt, do you feel like people are drinking the parks and parking?
You know, kind of outlined the circumstances. I kind of had a certain vision in my mind, somebody's just inside, falling apart, just walking down the sidewalk, like, no attempts to conceal it or anything like that. Like it's just, just wide open here. If I feel like I would stop, I know I can't listen to people and all the officers. I know what I personally I don't know that we're really getting inspection calls in the parks on engineers. Like after a softball game or something like that, for all the teams, people, so out in the park. I just really think you're going to encourage that. You know, yeah, you're there, or somebody comes to the park, or to the park and have a beer, but it's also going to be a group that takes, you know, up a case of beer, and they're down there, and you got kids over playing in one part of the park, and you got the folks over here too. And I just don't think that's very fun for kids in the park. And I don't think there's probably something said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think we've got a good deal.
Just on the back end, confirming when TAB's license holders pull permits are moving forward, you guys are going to request to see the TDA or the agreement from TABC, and are you guys requiring GL or liquor liability insurance? You guys, as a certificate holder or relocation to city location, are you guys considering having those things required when pulling permits? Because it was brought to our attention that there were some instances where people were selling alcohol to the public or distributing alcohol, but were not pulling their permits from it.
The letter is what's going to trigger us, no, it's out there, that's TABC. We don't govern TABC, that's a state.
No, but would you guys want to see the TDA, or would you guys want to have our GL or liquor liability aggregate insurance on file?
If it's your event, then liability.
Talking about the vendor restriction, a lot of times they have general liability, so alcohol provider. Let's talk a little bit about that.
That's the TABC for this.
No, it's not. Insurance is directly for you, and 100% of the things that we come to require that address or the PDA name to be listed as a certificate holder, just to protect the property where we're having that. So we do, I know all of us carry one of those on file too, and we do list the city, that specific location and the name as certificate holder on those insurance policies, along with our TABC.
because like I said, we were told that we weren't doing either of those.
Let's take a little further look into that.
Okay, because I'm already requiring which is room number and what is that's tied to. So.
And then I don't think they're required to have GL transition. So I think we need some conversation on that.
I don't know if we're gonna get that practice at this point.
Let Rich and I take a stab. The only thing, John Burns over facilities, the two we've talked about, just on facilities, not on parks or anything like that, have been the community center and maybe the library. So, what is it? Those line events, library, those are the only two. I don't think we've really had much interest in camp or anything like that. Maybe City Hall, we probably should do that City Hall too. Or the police station and the fire station. Those are the only two facilities I think that Gretchen and I and John have really talked about any major opposition. We'll hash out the arguments. So I think that's enough guidance for Gretchen about car construction. We will definitely have Chief Friday involved.
Before I leave.
What's your goal for retirement?
All right, item number 9, consider take appropriate action on proposed 2026 property tax rate and setting the public hearing of the proposed property tax rate. Bo?
The public hearing for the 2027 tax year tax rate is scheduled for August 18th. In order for us to publish that notice of the public hearing, we are required to include a recorded vote of approval or disapproval of the proposed tax rate. So that is what I'm seeking today. You've been provided some information about the tax rates. If you have the new packet that I believe was provided to you all today. Oh, you handed it to me? My apologies. Okay, on the first page, after the cover page, you see a very similar report that we've been looking at the past few meetings. In the blue, you have the comparison of property value and taxable property value. Looking at 2% increase in taxable property value for the city. In the orange there, you've got the proposed tax rate for the 2026 tax year of 0.53413. That is a 4% increase to the tax rate. That does include a almost 4% decrease in the INS rate as more property has been added on to meet the debt service requirements and also applying prior year over collection to the next year's tax rate. And in the green, the first green one chart, you have the comparison of the proposed revenue from the proposed tax rate versus what was budgeted for the current year. So that's a 4% increase in the property tax revenue. And that final chart there is looking at year-to-date as of June. So a 5% increase as of year-to-date, but we are still collecting tax through the end of the fiscal year. So that number will continue to rise, that percentage will lower as well. The next page is going to be a key one. The very top there in the white, we're showing how we adjust the taxable property value for our budget, so the number that we use and apply the proposed tax rate to come up with the budgeted revenue amount. But I really want to focus on under the orange heading. You see budgeted ad valorem tax rate calculation. The very first one in the white, you have the 2025 adopted tax rate. That's our current tax rate. Total of 0.5181. And then now we do have the calculated tax rates from Randall County. So the no new revenue tax rate would be a total of 0.49752. The voter approval tax rate would be a total of 0.51739. The next tax rate really doesn't have a name. It's just found in section 75.065 of the tax code. That is 0.53982. That is the highest tax rate that we could adopt. That could not be petitioned for election. Then we have the de minimis rate there in purple, a total of 0.54862. That is the highest tax rate we could adopt without automatically triggering an election. And then just for comparison, we have the 2025 M&O rate, but if we lower the INS rate to the current year, you can see what that tax rate would be at 0.50658. And then the proposed tax rate there of 0.53413. And in that final column for all of those, you can see the increase or decrease in operating revenue that we would receive in the general fund compared to what is currently budgeted for this year. That's a lot, and that's a really key piece. And the no new revenue rate, voter approval tax rate, and de minimis rate will be included in the public notice for the public hearing. Any questions on that before I move forward?
Am I seeing on there the increase in the tax rate over the no new revenue rate? That will show up as a notice in the paper.
Not in the paper, but whenever we move to adopt the final tax rate, it will be included in the motion. That would be a 7% increase over the no new revenue. And then in the ordinance to adopt the property tax rate, they want us to report percent of increase of the no new revenue M&O rate to the adopted M&O rate, which would be an 8% increase. What the increase that will be included in the public notice in the newspaper, it compares the current year tax rate to the proposed tax rate, which would be a 4% increase. There's several different ways that the state defines a tax rate increase. Moving on to the next page, we have included these calculated tax rates and compared them from year to year. And you can see on that chart, the solid blue is our adopted and the 2026 proposed tax rate, and where they have fallen in comparison to the no new revenue, voter approval, and de minimis tax rates. In the chart below that, you can see how much of the adopted tax rate. Orange was the INS rate, and green was the M&O rate for operations. And looking at the next page, these are the assessed property valuations straight from Pratt. You can see how they have been increasing over the last few years. Using their adjusted taxable value compared to last year, they're showing a 3% increase. This is the lowest property value increase we've had since 2019 when Lone Star was removed from our tax roll. Then on the next page, we look at a comparison of the average home value. In 2026, using that average home value with the proposed tax rate, that annual property tax payment would be $1,448. That's an increase of less than $90 for the year, or less than $8 a month. And again, that chart there shows that average homestead property property tax payment. The orange being their payment amount going to INS, and the green going to operations. The next page, we are comparing the tax rate to other cities. So we have cities here located in the Panhandle, other Texas cities with similar populations to Canyon, and 6 similar cities with similar taxable property values. You can see the blue line with the dots, that is our current tax rate for 2025, and the orange one is our proposed, and where that would fall in line with these other cities' 2025 adopted tax rates.
It's not tax rate, it's industrial water. And gold is 5% tax for nutrient, Chevron. The revenue is probably pretty close to what it's
Yeah, these numbers came from the state comptroller's office. It's only related to levied property tax, so nothing about other agreements, pilot agreements, or anything like that that may impact property tax revenue from other sources other than the levy. And the final page is just a comparison of the tiers, how that property has value has been increasing. You can see despite the 2% citywide increase for the city, the property within the tier zone increased by 29%.
we're just adopting the max. It's not the actual tax rate, it's what I mentioned. Hypothetically, if the commission at a later date makes the tax adoption, you still have the opportunity to get it. You just can't go above the rate that we have. Staff has recommended, what, the same rate that we,
Correct.
no more than that. Legally, we could go on with other rates, 75.
We could go up 2.39, I'm sorry, 53982 without it being petitioned for an election. We could go up to 0.54862 without it automatically triggering an election. I will also state next year we do have another legislative session. Property tax is always a key discussion point. We kind of look at what was discussed in the prior session, kind of gauge what could potentially happen in the next session. Something that had been brought up in the last session was the elimination of the de minimis rate. If that were to occur, the highest tax rate we could adopt is that voter approval tax rate, which in this case, for example, would only be an increase in operating revenue of just over $120,000. That's if they keep it at 3.5% increase from the prior year. They also discussed lowering that to 2.5%.
I move that a proposed tax rate not to exceed 0.53413 per $100 valuation equal to a maximum info rate of 0.41795 and a maximum INS rate of 0.41618 be placed on the agenda at the city commission meeting scheduled for Tuesday, August 15, 2026 for final action.
Have a motion and second, set a maximum tax rate. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Can I get to vote, please,
Sir.
for the record, but
Aye.
I move to set a public hearing for the proposed tax rate for 4:30 p.m. August 18, 2026.
A motion and second, to set the public hearing for August 18th, 2026. All in favor, because we need public vote on this. Okay, all in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Item number 10, consider and take appropriate action on ordinance number 1256, an ordinance of the city of Canyon, Texas, removing real property from the ETJ, the city of Canyon, modification of landowners, and reducing the ETJ of the city of Canyon in accordance with such action and providing for an effective date. Justin?
Yes, sir. This item is pretty familiar to you guys, so I'll move through it pretty quickly. The city recently received a petition for release from the ETJ under section 42.102 of the Texas Local Government Code. The petition concerns approximately 10 acres located at 18901 Helium Road, owned by Stronghold Custom Cabinets LLC. City staff and city attorney reviewed the petition, corporate formation documents, and documentation establishing signature authority. Based on that review, staff determined that the petition contains sufficient documentation to support the release request. Section 42.105C of the Texas Local Government Code requires municipalities to release qualifying properties when the landowner satisfies the application petition requirements. So to clearly document this, we are proposing ordinance number 1256 for consideration that would formally adjust the ETJ for the city. Adoption of the ordinance would release the property described in the petition from the city of Canyon's ETJ.
Motion second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Item number 11, consider and take appropriate action on West Texas Crossing Development Agreement.
Yes, sir. So this agenda item is to consider a development agreement with Sad Monkey Development LLC for the proposed West Texas Crossing Commercial Business Park located at Kimbrough. The agreement establishes the responsibilities of both the city and the developer for the public infrastructure needed to support that development. Specifically identifies the improvements that must be constructed, establishes the timing and sequencing of that construction. So the biggest component within here is the design and construction of a sanitary sewer lift station and the necessary force main and gravity main that's needed to support the commercial business park located over there on Camp Road. The developer agreement also covers responsibilities with regards to water distribution systems, streets and paving, sidewalks, and any other necessary elements such as drainage or things of that nature. Pretty standard development agreement. Developer is responsible for all costs with regards to the development of this commercial business park. Exhibit B on the supplemental agreement. It is a supplemental agreement in case the developer were to be awarded an EDA grant, which you guys may remember we applied for on their behalf. Preliminary indications are that they're not going to be awarded an EDA grant. I think there's a lot of transition that was happening in EDA. We lost our regional EDA director who was based in Austin, so the request actually ended up going to Atlanta. So I think that EDA grant probably got lost a little bit in the transition. So early indications are it's not going to be awarded. So as such, the supplemental agreement that's Exhibit B just won't be utilized when necessary. Approval of the agreement doesn't constitute approval of still got to go through all the development review process with the concept plan, plating, zoning, going through all the subdivision regulations and things like that. Development agreement specifically calls out all our development documentation that will have to be done. So I can answer any questions you guys have on
Move approval. Motion and second to approve. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. All right. With that, that takes us to number 12, executive session pursuant to 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.072, deliberations about real property, 551.074, personnel matters, city engineer, ordinance, Canyon Economic Development Board, Fire Department, Texas Emergency Retirement System Board, 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development. With that, I have 602 and we'll retire to